Good morning. My name's Councillor Anthony Kelly. Welcome to today's hearing. I will be chairing the meeting with my colleagues, Councillor Driscoll and Councillor Gallant. We are today's subcommittee. This is to have the virtual hearing of the licence application of the Peak and Rapkin London NW10 7XH. We're also joined by Cornelia Hardin, who is clerk to the subcommittee and will be minuting the meeting, Alison Luff, the legal advisor to the subcommittee, and Anjali Garcha, the licensing processes team leader, who will momentarily introduce the report. In accordance with procedure, I'll invite the licence officer to introduce the report and provide any clarification on factual issues. Then I'll invite the applicant to present the application, answer any questions and call upon any witnesses. Then I invite those who've made representations to make them and answer any questions and call upon any witnesses. At the conclusion of the hearing, the subcommittee, accompanied by the legal advisor and the democratic services officers, will retire to consider the decision. The decision will be given at the end of the meeting and confirmed within 5 working days. If the panel are unable to reach a decision, we'll also be notified of such within 5 working days. So we go initially to Ms. Garcha to introduce the report. Thank you very much for your patience.
Morning, Chair. Peak and Rapkin Food Events Limited have made an application for a premises licence in relation to Peak and Rapkin Food Events Limited, located at 179 Park Avenue, Park Royal, London, NW10 7XH. 21 representations have been received for this application, and these are as follows: 1 from the Metropolitan Police Service, 1 from Ealing Council Pollution Control, and 19 from interested parties. The licensable activities applied for are as follows: supply of alcohol on the premises, Sunday to Wednesday, 11 o'clock to 2300 hours, Thursday to Saturday, 1100 hours to 0130 hours. We've also got provision of live music indoors, provision of recorded music, and provision of performance of dance indoors and late night refreshment. That has been applied for Thursday to Saturday, 2300 hours to 1:30 a.m. The subject premises is listed as an events facilities and it's not located in a special policy area. If you could let me know if you need any further clarification, Chair.
Thank you very much, Ms. Garcha. And now we go to Mr. Rocha, who is the agent for the applicant. You might want to just introduce your applicant as well as you introduce it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm Manuel Rocha. So this is Mr. Lucas. He's the applicant, so the director of the company. Our company, this Peak and Rapkin, is a food events company. So we are not a nightclub or disco. We organize events like weddings, birthdays, parties, conference, lectures, marketing events. We have run a few events, like the councillors know. We run some temporary events, and we had one occasion. We had a temporary event for a musical event that, unfortunately for us, went wrong because the sound levels bring some problems to the neighbors. So this problem make us realize that music events is not for us. It's not the kind of business we're looking for. So it's something we like this in the future. Initially, we apply for the hours that the licensing officer just mentioned, but we agree with the police to reduce the hours we initially asked for. So I sent an email to the police and to the license team. I think the supply of alcohol is until 23 hours during the weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday until midnight. Late night refreshment on the weekends until 30:30 and closing at 1 o'clock in the morning. Also, because of this noise problem, we invite the noise pollution team to visit our premise and give us some guidance. We don't mind. I mentioned that we do not mind to pay that visit. So to see what improvements we need to be done, even with the reducing hours. And then, so we're still waiting, and we will improve what they say to need to be done. We did already some work. So these kind of facilities, we are not open daily to members of the public. Our events are pre-booked events. Some weeks, maybe we don't have any event, or sometimes in some occasions, maybe we have 2 a week. So these hours we apply for is not for a disco nightclub, because this don't attract these people. Finish something at 1 o'clock midnight, sale of alcohol. So is when people usually start to drink alcohol, not finish. Also, during these events, we have an agreement already with some door supervisors company, and also we propose some conditions to protect the license objectives like CCTV, signage to remind customers, staff training regarding the 4 license objectives, and the 25 challenge, agreement with the local, with 2 companies to rent a space for parking, and other measures that I mentioned on the application. So we understand the neighbors' complaints. I don't. Some of them, some complaints come from representations was done from some companies, and I think these facilities are very attractive, and I think some companies was chasing to rent these facilities, and I think because I can't understand why somebody have a company who finish at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock complains for a facility that is open until midnight. The neighbors I understand, but the companies I think they like to rent this place, and because they lose the business, they make a representation against. But it's for the subcommittee to decide that. And I think for now we have also to organize a pickup point where people arrive. So there is a marshal. We will have people to clean the street. But because this is easy to book because we have pre-book events, so we are not open every day. So for now, I finish with this presentation. If any questions you have, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rocha. Just in accordance with procedure, we're going to get the parties to ask you some questions. So obviously, just better, I'll go to the police in a moment, but when I invite people to speak, it will be to ask questions of the operator. And so you'll get a chance to sum up and make your points, but this is to ask questions of the operator of the applicants. So, but I'm sure the police will be able to start that process off. If you'd like to go first, please.
Good morning, Chair. Thank you. Yeah, can I just ask, what is the capacity of the venue, please?
Yeah, I can answer this question. Right now we have a people with
I'm afraid we can't. You need to come closer to the mic, sir, or.
No.
Yeah.
We think about this in size of it in sitting and stand around 200 people around.
Okay.
So,
but
200
we
seated.
Yes, because when we do the fire risk assessment, if he says 150 people, 200 people, we able to get this final number.
And are you going to hold any events where it's not seated?
Yes. Occasionally, we would like to have an option to have events that not everybody is seated, because maybe it's not a long day event, maybe a couple of hours, and then people leave. So we'd like to keep this open. Yeah.
So I can tell another thing, right? Because I think the people make some confused. The people think we are nightclub. We know our nightclub. We are events. We are a venue, right? Sometimes we have events like wedding. Like this summer, we have around 7 weddings to do it, and we rent some venue. That's all right. We wanna ask venue to do as events.
Okay, sorry to interject. Your fault. I won't be taking. I've had a couple of messages on the screen. I have read them, but I'm not going to take them up. You'll be able to make that representation verbally. However, I've had a message from legal. Can you confirm in your application, you've put in some application for hours and certain music? Now you're saying you're not a nightclub. Do you want to amend the conditions, the application? I can't hear you.
Miss Vicky, PC Vicky proposed the hours and activities. We accept the hours she proposed. So we're going to reduce the, as you know, until 11 o'clock, we don't need, of course, we need to respect the neighbors, but as a live entertainment, we don't need the relevant entertainment, we don't need a license. But what the police says or the noise team says, Mr. Paul, we are happy with that. If they say is until 11 o'clock is 11 o'clock, if it's 12 is 12, and we probably could manage that. It's not a problem because, as we said, we are a food events company. So initially, we ask for more, but we are keen to reduce that hours, and we accept that hours that the PCV propose.
Okay, so what can you confirm the hours, please?
So the Miss Vicky can correct me if I'm wrong, but supply of alcohol Sunday to Thursday until 23 hours, Friday, Saturday, bank holiday, Sunday until midnight, and the same as the live entertainment, late night refreshment. Monday to Thursday, Sunday to Thursday till 23:30, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday 00:30, and then opening hours Sunday to Thursday close at midnight, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday bank holidays 1 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, and recorded music?
Is the same as the alcohol.
And live music?
Is the same as alcohol. Okay. So I record music, live music. It's midnight, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Alison, is that? Do you think that's enough for us to continue with the discussions?
Yes, Chair. I think that's clear. I just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of what was on the table now. So
anybody who messages, I may read them, but I won't. You know, they won't form part of the discussion. So people have to wait their turn. So going back to Vicky, sorry to interrupt you in flows there, but I just wanted to get some clarity.
That's okay, Chair. While we're on the subject of the hours, can I just say that I just wanted to bring, if you are mindful to grant allowance at the licence, then obviously core hours is what I was going for, and that's what I said to the applicant, just propose the core hours, not the hours that they've asked for in the application, but that is only obviously if you're mindful to grant the application. But the police's stance at the moment is that no licence application should be granted as per my representation. But I'll carry on and ask some further questions if that's okay now. I just wanted to clarify that point.
Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. I kind of went on a bit of a tangent with the capacity question. My obviously you said that there was going to be events occasionally where there was no seating. I just wanted to know if that was going to increase the capacity inside the venue of how many people you could have in for those types of events.
Can I answer?
Yes.
The situation is if the license is granted, we contact already a company, and we have a fire risk assessment done by a professional company to decide how many people will be suitable for the place in terms of evacuation in case of necessary. So the guideline we have comparing with other events, with other rooms we have experienced, we calculate in 200 people, but could be less, could be a little bit more, but I think 200 will be a good number for us, but the fire risk assessment will tell us exactly how many people we will have.
Okay. So regardless of seated or standing, you're looking at approximately 200 people?
Yes, 200 people is the number we'll be comfortable with.
Okay, so you said earlier about not doing music events anymore, but you will be doing weddings. Will the weddings have music?
Well, some weddings, people like the weddings I've been in a few, not too many, but yes, they have music. Sometimes people singing, the ranch, a DJ, people dancing a little bit. So a little bit of everything, to be honest. So they like to have a little bit of fun.
Okay.
It's a wedding.
And where are customers supposed to park their vehicles? Because there's not a lot of parking, is there?
The parking, I think there is two now situations where I think Mr. Lucas can explain better, where we have the license granted, this agreement go up, and then for parking.
Excuse me, Mr. Rocha. Could you
Yes.
speak into the microphone? Because sometimes when you speak, we don't hear you.
I was trying
very
to
well.
pass the ball here to Lucas to explain about the parking.
Hello. Hi.
Yeah.
Listen. Okay. The park we have now, and the back for, because the bay route, all right, the bay route in the area is a bit close. We have a park in the back one. If we want to use, we need to give the notes to them 72 hours before we use. We can park there around 30 cars around in the back one. And now we spoke to another guy, to number 11. Number 11 is a dealer for the car. We can use his park too. We need to give you only advice for look like a 72 hours before to booking, and we can use boats park. We think we can fit around 60 cars in the boats place. I think so.
Okay. And will customers be notified of that prior to attending the venue?
Yes.
Okay. And do you have a signed agreement for like a lease of the parking?
Listen, we can provide a sign, the contract. We can provide this, but the problem is no point to them spending more money, paying 3 months in the parking before we use it, because we don't know about your decision for the council, for the police, everything there. But I can show for you some email, some pre-booking, pre-contract. If you want to go ahead, I can prove for you everything what I say to you.
Okay.
And
what's your sorry, go on.
Yeah, in that case, we have a plan to put somewhere in the road, right? We want to put some sign like don't look as events venue. We have a parking here and here. We want to put one guys in the road like when we start the party, when we finish the party, for run the cars in the place, for no happens, and all the customer. We want to stop the customer. As customer, we want to stop before going the road.
Okay. What's your dispersal policy going to be?
Sorry. Can you repeat again, sir?
Dispersal policy, Mr. Rocha.
So we can provide a dispersal.
Into the mic, please.
Yeah, so we can provide a dispersal policy regarding these applications. If I can send.
Yeah, still not great. I can pick you up, but yeah.
Let me check one thing.
That's better. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Here's the sound, the level. Yes, we can provide a dispersal policy. We've done a few for Sodor Council because some of the venues there, they are finished late and they ask for a dispersal policy. I can provide one for Miss Vicky's if they want. So we can have this integrated on the license conditions if the license is granted.
Okay, but what's your plan for it though? What are you planning to do to make sure that people disperse quietly and leave the premises and don't loiter on the streets? What are you going to do to prevent those kinds of things from happening?
What we can do is we have agreements with local minicabs. We will have signage to ask people to respect the neighbors when they leave the premises. We have the door supervisors to ask people when they leave, and the manager when people leave to repeat and to leave the premises quiet and respect the neighbors. So this kind of information, I think, will be useful. So, and this, I think this period between finish the alcohol and finish closing the facilities that hour will allow people to go in small groups instead of go in one go.
Right. Okay. If the venue's at full capacity, how many door supervisors are you proposing to have?
So with the 200 people, we reckon about 6 people, 6 door supervisors for 200.
Okay. Is that both inside and on the door of the venue?
Not 6 inside and outside. Yeah, they cover both.
How many are you supposed to have outside?
It will be the way we see it, and the advice of the companies. That may also what they say. They'll depend of the event, the type of event. Will be 2, 3 outside and 3 inside.
3 inside and 3 outside. Okay, thank you. Chair, I've got no further questions. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Murphy and Councillor Zizamos, you'll be coming up next. But Mr. Murphy, might you want to introduce yourself as well?
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. So my name is Paul Murphy, and I'm the Safe Communities Operations Manager at Ealing Council. Good morning, everyone. Mr. Usher and Mr. Lucas, good morning. Mr. Lucas, can you just clarify for me again, what's your role within the company, please?
Yeah, I'm director to the company.
And you're Director of Peak and Rapkin Food Events?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, you mentioned a short moment ago something around Lucas Events venue. I just want to confirm what that is. That another company?
Don Lucas is my name, all right?
Yep.
Don Lucas is only name for the commercial name, but the right name is a Pick and Wrap. That's right in the plate.
Okay, because you talked about having signage up that says Don Lucas Events venue. So I'm trying to understand, will the signage read Don Lucas Events or will it read Peak and Rapkin?
It's okay, but underneath you see that the name is a buy from Pick and Wrap.
Okay. All right. I'm not sure I follow, but okay. Can you confirm you're currently leasing the premises? Is that right?
Yeah. We have some license to use the premise. Yeah.
Okay. So how long is your lease there for?
It's a 5 years.
So 5-year lease. Okay. And have you had any previous? Can you just confirm for me? Have you had previous temporary event notices granted for this? Because I know you've put a number of temporary event notices in. Have you had any granted?
Yeah, we have some. How many?
We have a few granted.
Yeah.
I can't hear Mr. Rocher at all. So I'm not sure who's up.
The first events we applied for was granted, but then the last 3 they refused, and then we canceled the events.
Okay, and do you want to just clarify in terms of the first event, what went wrong?
I think not the first event. I think didn't went wrong. I think was the second event or the third event was the music was too loud. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so except the music was too loud. You said it's not a nightclub. That's so my understanding of that. It's not a nightclub that you're proposing.
Yes, it's not a nightclub.
Okay, so access will not be exclusively for adults over the age of 18.
Yes, it's not exclusive. Yeah.
Okay, so how many events do you anticipate on a weekly basis will involve the attendance of children and young people?
I think the events we anticipate, like I said in my presentation, maybe some weeks we don't have nothing, but some weeks maybe we have 2. So in average, maybe 2 a week will be.
So you
good.
think about two events a week that you think will be attended by children and young people. Is that right?
Well, not children's young people. When we have a wedding, of course, we cannot prohibit children to go to event night. So we don't do events in the direction for children. We do events for companies. So if is and private people, if they have a wedding, of course they bring their children. So there is nothing we can do about that. The only thing we can do is supervise, and people know it's under 25. People don't have access to children like in any other hotel.
Okay. So what's your understanding of the safeguarding responsibilities as a licensee in relation to children and young people?
Well, what my understanding is the protection of children from harm. So everybody, all the staff is.
Can you speak louder? Sorry, I can't hear you. So
all the staff is trained to protect the license objectives, especially the protection of children from harm. So there is under 25 challenge. There is going to be signage display on the facilities, and anybody look under 25 will they ask for ID, passport, driving license. And even staff is monitoring, because sometimes an adult could maybe try to give alcohol to children, but that is something we don't let people happen, because we have our waiters and the staff will train to do that.
What training have they specifically attended? Who's the training provider?
Well, I can be a trainer provider because I'm officially a training provider. So
you have provided these individuals the training?
Yeah.
You've delivered that training?
I deliver. I'm going to do the trainings if the license is granted, if they want to carry on with me, but they can choose another companies.
Okay, so at this point, no training has been provided, but should the license be granted, it's your intention, Mr. Osher, to provide that training yourself?
Yes, so before the license starts, everybody is trained regarding the 4 license objectives and the conditions of the license, because what's happening is a lot of sites, they grant the license, but people don't understand the conditions of the license. And then they end up with a license review because they don't follow the rules of the license. And that is something that cannot happen. Okay. In relation to the CCTV, that was mentioned earlier on, can you specify what type of CCTV you have in place at the venue? Yeah, so I'm going to pass Mr. Lucas, he can explain. Okay,
but we have now CCTV there for 16 camera inside, all right? And we hacked it for 90 days, 3 months. 16 cameras. Yeah, 16 cameras.
So you have 16 cameras currently in place?
Yes.
And you and a recording capacity of on a rolling 90-day basis?
3 months, yeah.
Okay,
around
that's
3
helpful.
months. Around 3 months.
Okay, thank you. And in terms of the parking, which we touched upon earlier on, can you just explain to me, you've indicated that you think you've got access to 60 spaces. Can you just say which you mentioned the premises addresses, but can you just confirm the business names for me that you're leasing these spaces from?
Yeah, we got a space in the, I don't know if you know, but I think the PC Vic is nowhere is. It's a number 11, right? It's a sell and buy cars, but we have a big parking there. And the back one to another company, the name is a Beirut. It's a very big parking too. Is around 40 car, and one is another 50 car more.
Yeah. Beirut Nights, Beirut as a business is closed at the moment, isn't it? Because it's subject to legal action.
Exactly, but the park in the back is open. I can use the park. I'm just need to give you notes for 72 hours, and if I arrange the park, both.
Okay. What's the status with your planning permission?
Once again?
What is the status with your planning permission? With the planning permission, the planning department received a copy of the application, and they didn't do any representation. So I assuming the premises have the planning permission to do this kind of events.
So you're assuming, but you don't. Yes. You don't have.
I'm not for sure because they rent the place. The landlord rent us the place. They did the lease. We mentioned what was the solicitors. They go ahead with the paperwork. So we assuming that that it should be fine with the planning permission, because otherwise they should then send a representation when we submit the application. We don't never receive any letter or any email from the planning department.
With regard to taxis and Ubers, obviously there'll be quite a high number of them coming on, particularly late at night. How will you be managing them?
That's right. In the same place when you have the park, right? We have a plan to put one guy to reception the cars, and the same space we want to put the pickup and deliver the people for Uber, for tax, something like this, because we don't want to leave the cars go and end the road because the road is being closed. We want to sort out this problem for the car before going inside the road.
So on a practical level, how will that work? Can you just talk me through how you'll physically be managing large numbers of taxis?
Yeah, the normal is that when come the tax, all right, we have a parking there. That's why we put in the front of the business, we can put some space to pick up and deliver the people. Yes, you can put 5, 6 cars at the same time, more.
So you think you've got capacity to make space for them?
Yeah, exactly.
On the public highway.
Yeah. In the front of the Beirut is I have another parking for 6 cars or more in the front. We can use this space for pick up the people.
Okay. into the practicalities there in terms of Ubers is going to be very challenging, isn't it? Because Ubers are ordered individually by smartphone. So how are they going to know where to park when they turn up?
That's why that's why we live, when we have a people in the road, right? When we put some plate, good plate to see Uber or tax pickup point.
Okay.
This,
I'm aware of time, so I'd just like to quickly, if I can, just pick up on a question earlier that was around fire safety. So can I just ask what specific fire risk management plan you currently have in place at the venue?
At the moment, we have.
I can't hear you.
Give him a minute. Yeah.
We're waiting for to know the decision about the hearing, and then we'll proceed with a fire risk assessment. At the moment, we have smoke alarms, we have fire extinguishers. But of course, we need to do a full risk assessment to determine the capacity and to check the way outs, the meeting points, where all the staff will go, see if there is a case of a fire. But in terms of materials, in terms of, we don't see that there is no wood, so there is a little bit of risk in case of a fire, but can happen. But we wait for the fire risk assessment to be done. Okay, so at the moment you don't have a fire risk management plan, but you intend to have one in plan if the license is granted? Yes. Okay. I don't have any further questions at this point, but thank you for your time. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Murphy. Councillor Zizamos, welcome to your first licensing meeting, making representations. So have you got any questions for the applicant operator?
Thank you, Chair. Well, to begin with, I think they should clarify about the planning permission, because I know what the planning permission was, and they should know too, because it's not good.
Okay. Just obviously, I want to focus on licensable activity.
Licensing, but they should find out what the planning situation is for themselves. If I've got any questions, I don't, because you don't know if you're going to have a wedding or you're going to have a gig or a nightclub thing. You don't actually know what type of people you're going to attract, so you can't control them. Or do you think that if you have a wedding party on, which you think will be easy to control, I imagine, and then you have a different type of event, that you'll be able to handle that?
Can I answer that, Councillor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I understand your question, but this food events is a company that exists for a few years now, Peak and Rapkin. So they have experience to deal with events. And I'm not saying sometimes mistakes don't happen, but when you work for many years in this area, when people contact you, they ask for prices, you ask few questions, you start to see what type of customer he is, see if a customer is going to give us a problem. And then, of course, they're going to avoid that. So they have experiences. They don't open, Peak and Rapkin was not open 2 months ago or 3 months ago. They've been existing for maybe 10 or 15 years already. So they do events a long time. So, and we know that we don't want to end up, we'd like to have a license, and we wouldn't like that in 3 or 4 months' time we come back here for a license review. So we will choose our customers, of course, like everybody, like in hotel. Sometimes some hotels have events for 1,000 people, and they try to choose the type of customers, but sometimes there's problems that can not be avoided, but we try with our experience, put this in practice.
Okay, but obviously that didn't work. I mean, I went away and I opened my email, and my box was full of complaints about your Peak, about loud music, and you saying you have experience, so you should have known that this would have happened. So loud that people's windows were rattling because the bass was so loud. And obviously, you must have known, if you've got experience, you must have known that this would happen, and you let it go ahead.
Because this is a industrial area, 90% maybe is an industrial park. We know there is neighbors. And sometimes when we contract a company to bring the sound systems, that companies sometimes, well, they are a little bit more adventurous. And then we realized at the end that was bad because was people living nearby and they listening. And that is what we accept to reduce the hours and activities for this type of license. But mistakes happen.
Okay. Can I ask you, say it's a 90% industrial area. How many residents do you think actually live near your premises?
How many residents until the end of the road?
Listen, and this road, right, I think I have 5 or 6 houses, something like this.
Okay.
I think
That's
and
fine.
There's,
What about behind
there's,
premises? This is a problem. It's behind the premises that we have a problem with.
Atrás tem o comboio e tem árvores e depois tem casa.
Behind the facilities, what Mr. Lucas is saying, there is a train line and there is trees. So I know this residents, they are surrounded by the North Circular, they are surrounded by the train, they are surrounded by trees. I don't know, to be honest, when people complain about sound, it's very easy to say, oh, they make too much noise. But on the reality, they need to prove it. And how they can prove it? Some councils, like I have some experience with Westminster Council, what they do, they visit the customer, they go inside the residence, not the customer, the resident, they put a special machine, a sound system to noise measurement. That measurement need to be done by an independent company, and that machine need to be calibrated. So when they send a report, you know, the music you play is 200 decibels inside the house of the person, and we put this report show during 3 hours the sound levels is this. And then that is the fact, because sometimes people complain, and I have friends who complain, and then, oh, let's complain about this place. Maybe the people complain, some of them maybe are right, and we recognize that, but maybe some people make part of these 20 people who make objections, they are friends from a friend. And they, okay, let's complain about this business. We don't want business here. We don't want new business here. So there is a lot of noise on the North Circular. There is a lot of noise with the trains, and of course this is why we reduced hours. But to be in terms of noise, only accept phone calls. Oh, there is a lot of noise. No, we need to go there, prove it, put the machines, testing, measure, and then send a report. But I didn't say nothing about that.
okay.
Okay. Well,
Anything more on noise?
my biggest issue is the noise, and the other issue I think is the parking. I can't envisage myself that people arriving there, get to Park Avenue, and then turn right to go and park on Brent Crescent. Unless someone's there marshalling them to go that way, I can't actually see that happening. And at the moment, everyone's double parking on top of, there's double yellow lines, which everyone ignores, parks there. Then people double park on top of that, and there's been altercations outside that I've been told by residents about by cars being blocked by other cars. Now we're told that they're going to have parking facilities that are going to marshal people. Do you know what people are like? They're not going to listen. They're not going to go around the corner and go walk further along the road to park when they could park right in front of the double yellow lines. And I don't know. I mean, do they have a way of fixing that or trying to get people to actually park where they're meant to park?
If you allow me, if people park in the double yellow line, you know they can be fined, and that is why the traffic enforcement do. Also, we in this because they are pre-booked events, we know we're going to have a marshal to tell people where they should park, and they have instructions where they should park, and then we avoid. But see if there is, there is a lot of garage there. I know the place. I visited the area a few times. There is a lot of garage fixing cars, and not all the cars can be inside the garage, so they're parking outside everywhere. So it's not only a problem for us. There is problems with other companies. They receive visitors. They have deliveries. So that parking space is not only our problem. it's a problem for everybody involved on that park.
Okay.
So,
All right. That's
thank
it.
you. Thank you very much, Councillor. Alison, you've indicated with the raised hand. Is that all right? Do you need anything?
Thank you, Joe. Just as it's been raised, I was just going to clarify the point about planning permission. Although the planning status of the land won't actually form part of your determination, just to clarify that due to a change in the use classes order, the proposal wouldn't actually require planning permission. It would have done prior to April of last year, but it all comes under one use class. So just to clarify that point. Thank you.
Thank you. That's very useful. So I think we can sort of park that now. So that wasn't a pun. We've been talking.
Sorry, can I add something? Only one small thing to the councillor.
You can, like I said, the panel won't be taking this into consideration when we.
Thank you.
You know, that is the truth of it. You know, so and yeah, on that perhaps we can move on. So I'll go in order of people that logged on, and Mr. Lau, please, if you don't mind, we don't want a sort of repeat of questions. Do you have any additional questions that weren't covered to the applicant?
Yes, this is Jitendra Takalau. Thank you, Chair. I appreciate it for giving me the time to speak. Mr. Lucas claimed that behind Beirut's Night, there are 40 car park spaces. That is a false claim.
No problem. You'll be very, very happy. I'll be very happy for you to say stuff later, but questions of clarity and you can talk about what you believe to be who it is, and then Mr. Lucas and Mr. Rocha they'll have the right of reply to that. So, do you have any questions?
Yes, well, obviously parking is a major issue, as many of the other contributors have already mentioned, and that was one of the, where their customers are going to park the vehicle. Yes, and there are very, very serious issues, and obviously from what Mr. Lucas and Mr. Roca has so far said, does not really reassures me or.
Okay, sorry, Mr. Lau. I know it's a challenge because it's probably your first time here. You can make all those points. Do you have any questions? You'll get a chance to make your representations. Do you have any questions?
Well, I have very limited time because I have another appointment to go to, and then obviously I want to make my point.
Unfortunately, this isn't the opportunity. Yeah. Right. So, Mrs. Khan.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. So, are you with Mr. Callist?
I'm with Mr. Callist. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. So, do you have any questions? You'll be able to make some points later on.
Obviously, my questions relate to the parking as well.
Yeah.
I feel there's false claims there.
Okay.
I'd like to address the subcommittee on how this has affected us directly as residents.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we can come back to that. No problem. Okay, so no questions at the moment. I don't believe. Councillor Gallant, do you have any questions to the applicant?
Thank you very much, Chair. A very quick question. I'm not quite clear what are the exact hours that are being asked for music, weddings or otherwise, or for alcohol sales. So if we could have a clarification of that, and if necessary, repetition, please. And in terms of music, obviously the number of complaints show that it could be heard outside. I'd like to know what measures will be put in, technical details, please, to show how that sound can be contained within the venue and will not cause vibration and disturbance for neighbours.
Thank you, Councillor. Mr. Rocha.
Yes, regarding the council, regarding our first questions in terms of hours, what we agree to reduce was the sale of alcohol Sunday to Thursday until 11 o'clock, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday until midnight. So as the same Friday, Saturday, bank holiday, and Sunday for music, midnight. And then close the facilities at 1 o'clock in the morning, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and during the week and midnight.
Thank
So
you. And but also the technical measures you're going to put in place, you plan to put in place to contain the music.
Yeah, we put some measures in place already with this. We did some soundproofing installation, but of course, I think the best way to deal with is to install a sound limiter that we will do, and we will buy this equipment as if the license is granted, and then that will give us a capacity to have some music without upset the neighbors.
Well, I'm going to ask you again, what exactly is a sound limiter, and just describe it, please.
What is a sound limiter? Well, I'm not a technician in terms of musician and equipment, but what maybe Mr. Paul gave me a hand on that. The sound limiter usually is equipment that is installed, and every time the musician tries to increase the sound, that sound limiter stop that. His equipment usually is around 700, 800 pounds. The last time I saw the price for a sound limit for another customer. But usually that's everybody increase that they don't let the sound go up.
Yeah. So,
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Gallant. Councillor Driscoll, do you have any questions to the applicants?
Yeah, a couple. So just going back to the sound issue, which seems to be come up time and time again with the recent TENS events. So you said you've done some soundproofing. So first of all, I'd like to know if you can describe the structure of the building, both the roof and the walls, you know, how is it comprised? And secondly, what specifically sound insulation have you installed, the extent and the specifications of it?
Yeah, we do in the roof. We just cover the glass with the roof, because anyway we need to know what you do. But all the windows, we put the insulation 150 mil thicker, and another plush board for the sound in the windows. And we need to make a triple door ready, because now we have a main door, one door inside, and another door outside. And we start do the jobs, but of course we need to do more job. But we need to see the license first, so we need to finish that. And we need to, anyway, what we need to do for don't give a problem with the neighbor, we able to agree, we do the job.
Right, okay. And is that soundproofing applied to the whole of the roof? Because you said it's just the windows, and the windows skylights are only part of a small section of the roof.
Yeah, we have a plan to do everywhere.
So it's a plan to do it at the moment. Okay.
Everywhere.
Okay.
My question is, all right, we don't want a problem with the neighbors, with the customer, with no one, with the council, with the police, nothing. If we need do something, if we can get some company and say, listen, you need to do this and this and this, we are able to do.
Right. To go back to the fire issues and capacity and limits, in the application pack, in the agenda pack, I think it's on page 40, I think 46, there's a comment there about the number of people attending the events varied, and this is the recent TENS events, between 350 and 400. So is that an accurate representation of who was attending? Because that's, you said a seated capacity of 200, but if you are presuming, I'm just assuming here, but please correct me, that if you've got attendances of 350 to 400, and I'm presuming these are standing events that happened recently.
Yeah, the problem is, all right, we don't have normally we do events, but it's not too big. people, I think this is too much. You know?
I'm lost the sound. I can't hear.
Yeah, 400 people is too big. We don't do events like 400, 500 people. Right? Yeah, I think the capacity is now able to 400, 500 people. I think the maximum is be 200, 250 people maybe.
Right.
Yeah, 200 people around. But the most problem is that we get a fire assessment. What these people say, you fit 150 people, that's why we can work like this.
And could I ask why the fire assessment wasn't done prior to these events taking place? Because obviously public events were open to the public or guests. They were open to a significant number of people to attend.
The person I contact that usually work with me for the fire risk assessments, he was away and we couldn't do the soon as he was, he's a busy person. So, and then because we have this notice with the hearing, we're waiting for the hearing for the decision, and then we will do the fire risk assessment. Because we already spend a lot of money on these facilities, more than 70,000 pounds. So we can hold these investments, but if the decision is positive, of course we keep investing because we already spend a lot and we'll do it.
Right. And I think my final question about noises, there's several comments in the representations in the pack about complaints were received and then the music was turned down for a period and then was turned back up. So during the TENS events, who was supervising the events to make sure that there's no sound limiter at the moment, but who was supervising the events and that there could be a response that could respond to complaints appropriately, because it said it was just an intermittent turning down of the noise and then it went back up again. That was said in a few of the submissions. So who was at the events to supervise and respond to complaints?
I think this when we had
need
this
to be
event,
a bit more direct in the mic, please.
Yeah, and I think that the event when happened, that problem with the sound is that we only knew about the complaints after the event, not during the event. Nobody approached us and say, well, I cannot sleep because your sound levels is too high.
Right. Can I refer you, could I just refer you to the agenda pack, because it says there were visits from the noise nuisance team and it says there were visits from police. So it was quite clear that visits took place at the time.
We had a visit, as far as I know, but Mr. Lucas can confirm, we had a visit from the police on a day, like Mr. Paul said on the hearing we had about the temporary events, to check if the event was taking place. But that day we canceled the event, so no event taking place on a Sunday. We had canceled that event. That was the visit from the police we had.
Right, okay. I think that's my questions. Thank you.
Did Councillor Gallant wave his hand? Yeah, go ahead. Briefly, Councillor
Very
Gallant.
briefly, Chair. Are you aware of some of the complaints about some of the people coming out late at night and what kind of activities, what kind of antisocial behaviour they were indulging in as they exited the venue? How, and if you are aware of it, how would you prevent it?
We try to, in this kind of course, this kind of.
So I can't hear you.
When we do these events for that type of events with loud music or discos or nightclubs, this kind of events that we don't want to do it again, maybe attract that type of behavior from people, because of course people go to a wedding or a party, maybe they have some fun and maybe there is a smart one, they try to get away with something, but usually the behavior of this type of people are a little bit different from the ones who come out from the nightclub. That is, you know, sometimes people go to a restaurant, they're happy and then they have toilet facilities in the restaurant, but when they come out, because they have a few drinks, maybe they do something that is a problem that can happen everywhere. But we have security, we have monitoring, we have marshals outside to try to prevent these things. And we have signage asking people, and the fact that people, most of the people gonna use, if they think drinking, they're gonna use a mini cab or a Uber drive. that problems can be avoided. Not everybody gonna walk 200 people during 200 meters or 300 meters. So if they want to go to the loo, they can use the facilities inside. Why they go only the outside?
Okay, thanks very much, Chair. Thanks.
Okay, right. I'm just going to change the order of running slightly. I'm going to give Mr. Lau an opportunity to make his representation. Mr. Rocha, you can take notes, but you need not respond to him until later. But if Mr. Lau wants to get away, he can make his representation now. Or if you are able to wait, you'll get a chance to make representations, Mr. Lau, and sum up. So, Mr. Lau, yeah, go ahead.
Much appreciated. Obviously, it's not possible that somebody who is running an event company for 10, 15 years, as claimed by Mr. Rocha and Mr. Lucas, that they were not aware of the fact that before they hold an event, they would know what are the safety requirements that should have been carried out before those events were even held. So it doesn't bode well that they're not even following the rules. Anyway, going down to the fact that Mr. Lucas claimed that at the rear of 187 Brent Crescent, there are 40 car park space. That is totally false. The maximum car park space which are available at the rear of that building, which are rightfully belongs to 187 Brent Crescent owner, is around 14 spaces only, and there are four spaces at the front of the building. The driveway is a shared driveway which has a legal right, which is owned by 186 Brent Crescent. We are in that building, so we are aware of this fact. So the claim that there are 40 car park spaces available at 187 Brent Crescent is false.
Okay, can I just, Mr. Lau, forgive me, can you just confirm who you are and what premises you're associated with?
We are at the rear of 186 Brent Crescent.
Yeah.
Our company name is Time and Life Limited. We run a business center, service business center offices units at the rear of that building.
Okay.
We also have another business called eNatural Limited, where we have a warehousing facility at the back of that building as well.
You're a business operator.
Yes, we are.
Thank you. Yeah. Go on.
Yeah. So we pretty much know what are the issues. Obviously, there are already existing parking issues in Brent Crescent and in Park Avenue. Not only parking issues, but also serious access issues. So having a license being granted for this particular premises is going to make the place a nightmare. Yes, and this trial events that's already taken place, we have already seen that people have been parking not only on the road itself, but they've been parking on private land, private properties. Their clienteles have done that. There's CCTV footage of all that, which I have already provided to the council, and we can even provide more. Yes. So, I know Mr. Rocha and Mr. Lucas are claiming that they will monitor all these. So where was all this monitoring going on when they did the trial run? Yes. So it doesn't give a lot of confidence to any of us, the businesses or the residents, that they will carry out what they are saying that they will carry out. So there are significant safety issues for the businesses as well as for the residents, because they are proposing to serve alcohol on these premises. Yes. And there are already, you know, it's evidenced by the businesses that their clientele have shown antisocial behaviors already with those 1 or 2 events that they've already held. Yes, and there was no control over that.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Lau. If I could sort of go back to the sort of running order now, and go to PC Hewson. Officer, PC Hewson, are you there? Vicky?
Hello, sorry, I forgot to stop mute, apologies.
That's all right. Yeah, if you'd like to make your representations now, please.
Yep, okay. As already discussed with the hours are excessive. I did have a conversation in which the applicant has agreed to call hours if you are mindful to grant the licence application. The premises has had 4 temporary event notices, as you've heard, and from these events, there was a number of noise complaints, residents complaining of loud music being played, causing their houses to vibrate and causing them to lose sleep. Another 2 tens were submitted, and these were objected by the Metropolitan Police and Ealing Council's noise nuisance team. And the hearing for that was last week, and they were not granted. The police have concerns regarding the location of the premises. It is close to residential properties, and they have already experienced noise nuisance coming from music being played at the events. There's lack of parking at the venue, which causes concerns to the police. There's double parking going on, which is stopping vehicles from coming in and out the road easily. There's again, obviously, the noise disturbance of people parking up on the streets with car doors banging, people coming to and leaving the venue in their vehicles with loud music playing. There's the car engines and the raised voices of people coming and going from the venue. And also, the police have concerns regarding any crime, disorder and antisocial behaviour of people leaving the venue after being drunk, urinating in the streets. I think I read on a representation already, they've already seen somebody urinating against their vehicle. This is going to happen all the time, and the police have no confidence at the moment that the management of the premises will be able to operate whilst promoting the licence and objectives. So our representation stands, and we do not think that the premises should be granted a premises licence.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Officer. Mr. Murphy, and you'll be next, Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. Just to add to what PC Councillor Hewson has already said, I won't repeat the content of our written application. The police and ourselves have already outlined that the significant noise nuisance concerns we have about this application. We raised that previously in the subcommittee hearing in relation to the temporary event notice, which was ultimately refused. The noise complaints we've received also, it would be fair to say, have occurred during daytime hours. So this is not a nighttime only concern that we're dealing with. Police and my own service expressed in our written representations, and to some extent today, are serious concerns about a number of issues: antisocial behaviour and public order issues associated with people coming and going from the premises, as well as from noise and antisocial behaviour from within the premises. Real concerns around the dispersal from the premises very close to a residential area late at night, challenges around the lack of parking and knock-on detrimental effect of that on public safety, as well as the effect on public nuisance. Concerns about fire safety, concerns about security of the site, and concerns about safety of children and young people accessing the venue. There are a lot of questions that remain unanswered. I am concerned Mr. Rocha hasn't been able to provide much in the way of additional detail on any of these points today. A lot of answers we've heard today, with respect, have been quite vague, and they offer ambitions rather than citing existing practice or procedures. Mr. Rocha has spoken about a sound limiter, but the company haven't yet purchased one and weren't really able to explain what it is, let alone how they'll use it to prevent the risk of public nuisance. We were told all staff had safeguarding training, but this was then corrected to an aspiration that they will have safeguarding training and it will be delivered by Mr. Rocha. I'm not aware of him being a qualified provider. He may well be, but that didn't fill me with confidence. I think the suggestion by Mr. Rocha that some residents are complaining because they're somehow involved in a conspiracy against new business is not just unfounded, it's actually quite offensive to the local community. And I haven't heard anything today that's reassured me that any tangible or meaningful measures have been taken to address what are, at the end of the day, very significant concerns raised by residents, police, local elected members, and my own service. I think the premises is manifestly unsuited to the activities described within the application. And we just bring it back to the core licensing objectives. I think in terms of the prevention of crime and disorder, high numbers of people at the venue, outdoor activities that we know do take place associated with late night events, eating, smoking, congregating, the associated disturbance, the knock-on impact on antisocial behaviour and littering, which affects not just residents, it affects neighbouring businesses. In terms of public safety, it's not clear to me the building's suitable for this purpose. I still don't understand what the situation is with fire safety. I'm very concerned that no steps have been taken towards this. It seems to be being left until after a licence is granted. In terms of crowd control, safety, evacuation in relation to a fire, an emergency or other kinds of disorder, I haven't heard anything today that's reassured me on those points. In terms of the prevention of public nuisance, so given the number of people anticipated to attend this venue and the times they'll be anticipating and the purpose, it seems inevitable nuisance will result regardless of what level the music is played at. And finally, I suppose in relation to the protection of children from harm, it's not clear to me what the plan is for managing these events. Again, I understand children and young people will routinely be permitted, and on other occasions, anyone under that age will presumably not be permitted, but it's not clear to me how that will be enforced and managed. There does appear to be, with respect to a bit of a wing and a prayer approach to this venue, an expectation that people at these events will somehow manage themselves. We have seen incidents in venues similar to this where harm has come to children and young people attending poorly regulated events, and I'm not reassured from what I've heard today that there's any meaningful measures in place to prevent similar incidents occurring here. There feels also like there's been a bit of a shift in tone towards this being primarily a wedding event venue, but it is apparent that if you look at what is on the paperwork and what is on the results of the discussions today, the license were granted, the venue would habitually be used for larger numbers of events where alcohol would be served and consumed, and for regular music events, including live music and DJs. And I just cannot see any realistic way this venue can be used for this purpose without significantly negatively impacting on all four of the licensing objectives. And that's my key points I wanted to make at this time. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Zizamos, and then I'll be asking Mrs. Khan to make her representations afterwards. Councillor Zizamos.
Hi, I just wanted to do a little outline of what the area is like. I know that people feel that there's only 6 houses at the bottom of Park Avenue, but there might be 6 houses in the back of, and they count as well. There is quite elderly people that live there. They've lived there a long time. They're used to a lot of noise from the industrial thing, but this is a new thing for them and it's completely out of control to them. And the thing that even the applicants have not realised is behind their premises is the Piccadilly line, which usually only runs about 4 trains an hour at midnight. They go past and that's it. On the other side is a whole street of residents. They all live there and they can hear the noise. And it's a thumping bang. And the thing that gets them is the thump, thump, thump. So I don't know how the technology that can limit the thump, 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 but that is in their lives. If they can't, in the summer, they won't be able to open their windows. Even now with closed windows, the windows rattle. So it is a huge, huge issue. They have issues with double parking. There's double yellow lines. The enforcement officers I know are supposed to be enforcing them, but after 11 o'clock, midnight, there are not that many enforcement officers out there enforcing double yellow lines. So people double park. I've had residents tell me there's altercations because people are blocked in and they can't get out. The people then park along Cleverly Crescent, which is the next street where it backs onto the property. There's limited parking there too. Then people that do park there come out at 1:30, 2 o'clock, have a conversation, have a drink, have a spliff. I've heard people complain that all I can smell is cannabis. And then in the morning, there's little green silver canisters on the curbside. So, I mean, that is around the corner. That never used to happen before this place was there. So there's a lot of antisocial behaviour. One of my residents' son had an altercation with someone that was using their front lawn as a loo. You can't. It's not a good thing. And I also feel that the other thing, that because these residents live at the end of North Circular, they are back onto the Piccadilly line, and they don't matter. They put up with a lot of stuff that deserve to be able to have a good night's sleep, and they can't. And it's just not the right place. It's too close to residents' houses, and it's not appropriate. There you go. I think I've had enough. I've said it.
I'm just checking if I was unmuted, which I was. Thank you very much, Councillor. Mrs. Khan, if you'd like to make your representation. There's a chap with you. Is that Mr. Callist?
Yes.
I can see a hand on your right, and that's probably that might be your partner.
Are we kind of running out of time? I think. Mr. Callis, sorry, Philip. Come and sit here. Okay, my representation, what I would like to say is we're residents on Park Avenue. Our house is the first house with only 1 unit space between ourselves and 179 Park Avenue. And we've been badly affected by the activities that have been going on at this venue. They claim that it is not a nightclub, but from what we've observed, it is being run as a nightclub. They have bouncers at the door from approximately 6 p.m, very, very early evening, and the music's blaring. And my son went along, and they said it was £30 to get in to the venue. I don't believe, I think the events venue, the food events venue is a disguise. I've hired many venues for weddings and birthday parties, etc. And this establishment isn't a foods venue, it is a nightclub. On the let me just check my records. On Sunday, the 22nd of May, their music started. It didn't stop till gone midnight. I had to get up the next working day. I work in education. I am responsible for the safeguarding of students, and I had about 4 hours sleep. I spent the first day absolutely in shock. I was in a state of shock. I had a very unproductive day because I was trying to comprehend what we as residents had just gone through. What had we just witnessed right on our doorstep? And, you know, the fact that they say that it's news to them, nobody approached them, we did approach them. Noise pollution came out and spoke to them. And also on Friday, the 27th of May, their music started at 9 p.m. right through to 2 a.m. in the morning. When I approached their bouncers at the door, who were very rude, very, very rude, and their response to me was, "We've got a license. The council have issued a 3-day license. We can do what we want. If you have an issue, go take it up to with the Ealing Council," which we've done. We've put in our objection. The bouncer was also rude and said to me, "There's the notice, go read it. I'm not reading it for you." There were customers outside. It was like another party was going out in the street. There was a smell of cannabis. And a young lady approached me and said, "There's nothing you can do. They've got a license. They can do what they want." I realized that I'd put myself at risk at 2 a.m. in the morning, going out, receiving such crowds. I came back and realized that, you know, we had quite a big job on our hands and that we had no choice but to put in our objections. Like I said, I can't go to work
wheelie bins,
on our wheelie bins and the car, on the van parked outside. I don't believe that they will meet the licensing objectives as they claim they will in the paperwork. And you know, we've lived here for over 20 odd years, 22 years. Mr. Callista's been here for a very, very long time. We've raised our families, we've raised our children in this community, and we are being subjected to Mr. Rocha. I mean, you are not here to witness what we have gone through as residents. I would just like to finally say that I strongly ask and plead with this committee today, this subcommittee, not to grant and to reject the licence in full. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
We'll take your representations under consideration. Just in the interest of full transparency, Mr. Callist, is there anything you'd like to add? But I do use the word add because obviously Mrs. Khan has made some very robust representations.
Yeah, I concur wholeheartedly with what Mrs. Khan has said. What I would like to clarify and what I would like the committee to acknowledge, the parking in the area. I don't think that they have accurately described the situation in the area. I don't think they know the area. I live here for 47 years and there has nothing been like it. I tell you, Park Avenue adjoining Brent Crescent is a cul-de-sac, and cars are parked on either side of the road 24 hours a day because there are a number of yellow lines and there are a number of cars extra that are parked on the pavement, right? That leaves one lane only for cars entering and leaving the area. So if I wanted to leave the area and cars are coming in, there is no way, unless of course you try to find a space in front of somebody's door, so then you can actually go along, right? On event night, when 100 cars are coming into the area, there is absolutely no parking spaces. And on event night, I tried to get out and I couldn't get out. I had to break the law to get out. Go up the pavement, into the bus stop and get out. And I could have been caught and charged. And when I spoke to the people, why can't I get out? They had no answer. And what made it even worse is that the only lane that allows you in and allows you out were used as parking spaces. So the gentleman who is applying for the license, I don't think he's conversant with the area. The area is not what he described. The area is chock-a-block. There is no parking places for 100 cars coming in. There is no parking places for even 10 cars coming in. So this is a fallacy. He's not very conversant with the area. And the other point I would like to make is that the noise emanating from 179 Park Avenue during event nights, it is similar to the noise, if you can imagine, generated by a powerful pneumatic drill. It vibrates. The sound contains harmonics or components of bass and treble. So you cannot identify it as music, and the house shakes and you cannot go to sleep. I've actually seen residents in the street crying 2 o'clock in the morning because of the noise. And this is, I'd like to put in context, clarify the situation.
I'm sorry, finally, can I just add that, as adults, if we can't sleep, imagine the children that live in the community that are subjected to this noise, especially on a Sunday night or even throughout the evening, and they're unable to sleep as well. It's sleep deprivation for everyone in the community, not just adults.
Okay, thank you very much. Right. So, yeah, if you'd like to make some representations now, Mr. Rocha, and you may want to respond to the particular points that were raised by make
what I say is we really feel sorry for the experience they have, and that make us realize that improvements need to be done in our facilities and the type of events we're going to hold, and also all the measures in terms of noise nuisance, in terms the capacity, in terms that we need to do the fire risk assessment. So, and also I think it's important the neighbors have a direct contact with the director or the manager of the facilities for, in some situations, to contact directly, see if they are not happy with something happened with our supervisors or something. So we need to filter these things, and I think the best way is to communicate directly with the events, because this company exists for a few years and they want to carry on for another few years. But we really apologize for what happened. We don't want this happen again. And also, this is why when we read the representations and we decide to agree with the hours and reduced hours and activities, and go ahead with we'd like to go ahead, but with the other type of functions, not musical events or kind of disco or nightclubs. That is not the kind of things we would like. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, so I just sort of do one more round robin, and then that gives Mr. Rocha the last say, the last opportunity to sum up. But I'm just going to defer to Councillor Driscoll and Gallant. Is there anything you want to, any comments you'd want to make? You don't make representations as such, but I'm just wanting to give you the opportunity.
That's fine, Chair. I've heard what I need to hear. Thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor.
And there is I appreciate the comments that have come back. There was a response made about there's like a triple door to the venue, but there's no indication on the plans that there's any filtering of access through multiple doors. It's just a box. That's the basic outline. So I just raise that the plans, if they're incomplete or do not represent, we have to choose what's there, because that's what I can see in the paperwork. It doesn't show any double doors or triple doors as was stated in the response.
Okay, you can just make a note of that, Mr. Rocha. Ms. Harding, you've got your hand up. Is there anything we can help you with, or you can help us with?
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to put on record, because we've had a complaint from somebody from Blue Light Services saying they were trying to get into the meeting, but they weren't allowed in. They wanted to put their views forward, and I just wanted to put it on record that emails were sent on Friday last week and again this morning to explain that only 4 people would speak on behalf of the resident objectors. So I just wanted to put that on record.
Thank you kindly. And my something has flashed up on my inbox as well. So okay, fine. Thank you, Cornelia. All those who made it clear they wanted to make objections have appeared. That's my view. So we have, so we're just going to do summing up now. So in the order again, the police, anything to add? Vicky, PC Hewson.
Hello, Chair. Sorry, no, I've got nothing more to add. Thank you.
Mr. Murphy.
No, thank you, Chair. Nothing to add in addition to what we've already covered. Thank you.
Councillor Zizamos.
I'm fine as well. I mean, I just want people to imagine that it's not it's on the border with the residents. So on the border, an industrial area bordering the residents, there is residents all around that premises. Just keep that in mind, please.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Khan,
just to bear us in mind when you're coming to your decision, but again, we
thank you.
Reject the full application. Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Callister, as well. And obviously, Mr. Rusher, this is your last opportunity before we retire as the panel to consider. So
thank you. Yes, so a lot of things was said, and I think was a positive meeting. Whatever happened, of course, we would like to have a license even with the reduced hours that we propose, or even less, but it's up to the subcommittee. Because we thought there is a couple of situations here that is the music, is the sound, and is the car parking. Only to remind that in an event with 200 people, in this type of events, and where for 200 people, not 200 people bring their cars. We're thinking maybe because a lot of people today, they are more conscious, they take the Uber, take a mini cab, and see if there is 50 people, that 200, 1/4, bring their car. And of course, that car maybe bring 2-3 people. We're talking about 25 cars, 30 cars. We don't talk about 200 cars. Because most the restaurants in the area, and I know London very well, I work with all the authorities, there is place that restaurants have 120 people, 150. I just went to a meeting with the Portugal president the 10th of June to celebrate in Park Lane. Was 1,000 people on that event. So 900 people bring their cars. I bring the car, I get a penalty. So it's so easy like that. So I think we are keen we invest already in that facilities. Was a mistake, but we invest. We want to keep investing. We don't mind to invest, but we'd like to invest properly with the sound limiters, the capacity, with the fire determinated. Regarding what Mr. Paul says about my qualifications, of course, on the application, I don't need to send my qualifications, but I'm a Chartered Institute Environmental Health Qualified Teacher and Center. I worked for the prison service a couple of years, doing training, and I work for the Kensington Chelsea Council as a trainer too, because I speak Spanish, Portuguese, and English. Anyway, but this don't matter now. So we providing training, signage, we do whatever we can. And I think the hours we apply can show that we are not a nightclub. It's a normal facilities. And Mr. Lucas and the managers, they are keen to give their numbers to the neighbors if there is any issue or any problem. We are there to work with the community and the residents. And we really, that experience we have was wrong. But we learn a lot with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just before we retire, Alison, do you believe we've covered everything?
Yes, I think so, Chair. Just to reiterate that all representations you will obviously have regard to whether or not people actually spoke today. So just to confirm that point.
Thank you very much. And obviously we received representations in writing as part of our agenda pack, which we've studied and will give due weight to or not, as the case might be. So it's 12:11 by my watch. So we will retire. I would anticipate that we will be back in this room, or for you to come back in this room at 1 p.m. To give a decision. But obviously, as a panel, we reserve the right to take longer. So what happens now to the people who may not have been here before, you'll be asked to leave the room. We stay in the room, and then you'll be able to come back into the room from about 10 to 1. Thanks very much for your attendance. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.